it was so overwhelming to deal with this, and I just thought to myself, I need to do my talking off the pitch as much as on it. I really feel the press don't help us. I think someone a while back, 130,000 players play professionally in the men's game worldwide. Zander, you were a part of 5 who were open about their sexuality. That's what people need to understand that are struggling. You know, there's a huge pool of people that are going to absolutely adore you. I guarantee you will find your family, and it might not be blood, but I guarantee you, being authentic self, you will find the people that's meant to be around your life.
Hello and welcome back to Queer Talker. I'm Ben Cicchetti, and this week I'm joined by an amazing guest. He was Scotland's first openly gay professional football player, and today he is an ambassador and a role model for people across the UK and beyond. He is, of course, Zander Murray. Before we get to my conversation with Zander, though, I have a quick favour to ask. Wherever you are watching or listening to this episode, hit that subscribe button. It's a small action that genuinely makes a massive difference. It's going to allow me to grow this podcast, and it'll allow me to bring you the best and the queerest episodes every single time. So in advance, thank you. Now to my conversation with Zander. Zander, I believe to understand an LGBTQ plus person as an adult, you first need to learn about them as a young person. So what should I know about you as a child or a teenager to understand the Zander that sits in front of me today?
Wow. So yeah, just need to take it back to my humble beginnings in the East End of Glasgow. And if anyone that's not familiar with the East End of Glasgow, it's very stereotypical Glasgow, which people south of the border think of Glasgow that rough and ready and, you know, really tough exterior to it. So that was my upbringing. Yeah, I was obviously embroiled in football. There's not many other sports in Glasgow that you get given. Red ash pitches, they're not a thing anymore. Yeah, and luckily, yeah, just with that ball, there's a ball. That's a rainbow ball, by the way, you can see.
I love that.
EFL rainbow ball. Shout out to Puma and EFL for sending me that. Yeah, just took to a ball from a young age, and yeah, I was good at it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say I was a child prodigy. I'm not going to big myself up, but certainly I knew that. Okay, I've got a bit of a gift here. Growing up, I was always like the best in my school, or one of the best in my schools, and joining like boys' clubs. Yeah, I knew I was good. Then hit, you know, puberty time. Changes in the body, hormones in the body. What are these changing rooms, these boy changing rooms in the playground with my mates? What are we speaking about? Girls, aren't they? And being macho and being a guy and fancying women and kissing women, blah, 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 blah. Kissing girls back then, of course. We're all like 12, 13. And at that time, I didn't know I was gay, Ben, but I certainly knew I'm just not getting I don't know, when they're talking about fancying women or back then, do you remember these magazines, these Nuts and Zoo magazines?
Yeah, and FHM and...
Yeah. They always had them in the playground and they just were doing nothing. And I'll never forget that I was coming home that day. I was 13-year-old. It was a sunny day, which is quite rare in Glasgow. And I went on my computer, and you know, back then we didn't have social media. So I'm just judging you. You might be a hell of a younger than me. I don't know your age. But it was MSN Messenger. I don't know if that was
Yes. Yeah. 100%. That's my teenager years, sir.
That's how you spoke to your pals. You could change your little you could change your bio to different colours and stuff. And
yeah.
Anyway. And so I remember being on that at 13-year-old, and I was like, oh, I'll just jump on The Sims. Do you remember I think it's still going. You know, you get a little character and you can take your dog out for a pee and you can jump into a relationship. And yeah, so I say accidentally, but clearly not, that I got same-sex in a relationship from The Sims. That's how I discovered I was gay. And
wow.
From my upbringing, so my steading was going to the Celtic games, Glasgow Celtic, big club here, big football club, going to the Celtic games with my father and all his friends and my uncles. Going into they were sneaking us into the pubs before it, which is around, you know, East End of Glasgow, quite rough and ready. You know, homophobic slurs were the norm, you know, that was just how they bantered and stuff. So I just automatically thought being gay was just a inferior thing. And I'll never forget, my dad used to drink at this pub quite near to Celtic Park. And across the road, there was a slightly more established pub called The Gallery. And my dad or his friends used to always, there was a little window at this pub, and he used to always say to me, Zander, son, you never want to drink over there when you're older. That's where the gays drink. That's where all the puffs drink. You know what I drink over there? I mean, it wasn't a gay bar, but you know, for that slightly more established than the pub that my dad was drinking in, and people were just a bit more fashionable. Anyway, so that was my steading. So when I found out I was gay at playing The Sims, from my relaying all that, from my father saying to me, being in these at that time when I was 13, I was playing in the professional academy at Motherwell. You know, changing them, not just the players, it was the staff, it was the managers, the coaches. Oh, don't be a puff, don't be a gay boy, get up your gay door. So I just automatically thought it was a horrible thing. I
Yeah.
had no role models, I had no visibility, I had no education at schools. The only thing I was aware of was Justin Fashanu, God rest his soul. So yeah, you can imagine what I was feeling like when I discovered I was gay, because I just thought it was this horrible thing. I busted crying, and yeah, to finish that question, that sort of pain stuck with me, 13-year-old, right all the way up to the ripe old age of 29.
Yeah. It's incredibly tough, isn't it? When you feel that, for lack of a better word, that kind of toxicity around you, and that that's something you are. I had a similar experience with The Sims, but I would have a same-sex relationship in The Sims, but then I'd feel like I had to delete the game, like the save file, to make sure no one discovered it, because I knew what I was doing was not necessarily what everyone else is doing, how my brother as another would be playing the game. It's how I was playing the game. So I completely feel that. And obviously in that environment, as you say, football's it's obviously a very, especially back then, very male dominated, but a very kind of, I guess what I would classify kind of a very lad, straight, heterosexual kind of environment. Do you remember the first LGBTQ plus person you became aware of, either in real life or through media, and kind of what impact that had on you?
Yeah, various. And it's a bit of a journey. I actually talk about this a little bit in my keynote. So growing up, we had like Graham Norton, Alan Carr, these really amazing chat show hosts, which are amazing. They've done great. That was the ones that really stood out. You had Elton John, but for me growing up, I was still tearing my head out. I'm like, I'm not really like them. How am I gay? I can't see anyone like, and I just can't stress how important it is having role models, that you can look up to. So yeah, growing up was a wee bit difficult because, like you said, there wasn't that many sporting role models, and then maybe until your Tom Daly's of likes Gareth Thomas in rugby, that was the sort of turning point. Like, oh, okay, you can be macho if you like, and masculine, and be gay and play sport. That was humongous, and that to quickly jump a few pages. Tom Daly was one of the first people to reach out to me and message me, which it was I wouldn't call him a friend. We chat sometimes on social media. Hope to meet him one day. What an absolute hero of a person, and that was amazing. These people were really massive, but truthfully, it wasn't until things started happening in the UK that closer to home that was a bit like, okay, so there was an openly gay referee, Lloyd Wilson. How unique is this? April 2022, Lloyd refed one of my matches. This
Wow.
is when we were both in the closet, right? And then fast forward to a month later, and he came out in the press with another referee. And I just thought, wow, that's incredible. So brave. I thought it was amazing. Obviously, young Jake Daniels as well, who I speak to very
Yeah.
regularly. No doubt I'll see him at a few prides again this year. That was massive for me. Massive. Just being like, wow, that was a turning point. And yeah, that's when I made the leap. And genuinely, I didn't think it'd be a big deal, but bloody hell. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you talk about all these other people and the bravery they showed, and obviously that they did show massive amounts of bravery and incredible, and they are role models to people to be able to see, like you, to see it's possible. But now you're obviously going to be that for people. People are going to be able to see you living your truth, living authentically, being successful, and that's just so incredibly important. I think the authenticity in it is incredibly important. You're being very authentic. When do you think you first felt authentically yourself? And then, as you've kind of already alluded to, there's a next stage to that, which is, and when did you feel you could bring that authenticity to everything you do?
No one gave us, I don't know if you've been in the same bracket, you might be, Ben, but as I said, with Masted and growing up in the council estate, as we call it here in Glasgow, in the ends, I'm sure you call it down south. No one gave me a guru. I went to state school. No one gave me a gay rule book growing up. No one gave me that education. So I had to learn very quickly at 29 when I came out. And what struck me was I came out but I didn't accept myself. I still had a lot of internalized homophobia, and buddies still do a little bit today. You know, it's an ongoing process of evolving. But certainly, I would say I did once I came out slowly to my friends and family. So I came out April 2021 to my friends and family. It took me September 2022 to actually come out to the football and to everyone. And then in between that, I was just slowly coming out to people. And people don't realise that. See, like your straight friends and that, they're like, I can't believe, I believe how tough it is for you. Like, just constantly having to come out. So yeah, I did feel a natural high when I finally came out to everyone. It was a bit of a relief. Like, okay, that's everyone. No, it's when it went to the media, it went crazy. But certainly, you know, when it did go a bit viral when I came out, I wasn't prepared for that. I really wasn't. I was at my first Pride event in Benidorm because that was the only Pride that was on. And I was sitting in my you don't say veranda, you say balcony. I was sitting on my balcony after the Pride march, watching the sunset. And I just made a private Facebook post. I had no social media at the time to tell the football boys that really that's all I thought it was. And I woke up the next day and Larry and Kelly's telling me, you're getting a flight to London, you're coming on my show. And I'm like, wow, life changed overnight. But, you know, it was intense, you know, that media pressure and being in the press and stuff. So I'd probably say it took me quite a while to accept myself because my football career was then shot up as well. And it was a tough period, to be honest with you. It was really, really challenging. Stressful enough playing professional football, but constantly being in the press just for who you are, you know, and the press were loving it. You know, they're all about clicks and likes. So, it was difficult. I felt, you know, this is weird what I'm about to say, but maybe until retired. So I retired in the summer. I'm actually back playing again, I'm only playing semi-professional. But see, when I retired in the summer, when the press was a bit off me, that's when I felt a bit more relaxed. So like last year, to be honest, so weird. So I came out September 2022, but it took me to really relax and feel authentic myself, probably in the summer there. Because I really feel the press don't help us. I think someone a while back, 130,000 players play professionally in the men's game worldwide. Zander, you were a part of 5 who were open about their sexuality. 5 out of 130,000. You know, you can go down, we could do a whole podcast on that. But all I want to focus on is the fact that the media will play a huge part in hindering that progress, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. And it's incredibly difficult to be that minority, right? You know, to be the one in the 5. It's incredibly difficult. I can only imagine how that journey kind of unfolded of coming out. Obviously, as you say, and I think people have this perception of coming out that you kind of do it once. And obviously you have the first time you come out, and that is obviously a big deal because you'll come out to the first person for the first time. But, you know, I'm still coming out today, and I've been out for, you know, 15, 16 years. But I come out on a regular basis because you meet new people and you feel a need to bring them into the loop very quickly. I think I do it as kind of a slight self-defensiveness, but also defending them to make sure I make it clear in case and it's crazy, but it's in case they say something that might be inappropriate, I make it very clear very quickly, right? Which is a crazy way to kind of look at it. So that coming out process is long and it's a journey. Take me through kind of how that journey happened for you from a public perspective anyway, because obviously, as you've touched on, there must have been a ton of stages, right? Friends, family, teammates, management, Lorraine Kelly, ITV. You know, it must have been a long process. Can you just talk me through how that process kind of came together?
Yeah. You know, it was painful at times, struggling with your sexuality, confused, not accepting it, internalized homophobia. And, you know, it was some serious dark times. And I do talk about that when I do keynotes, you know, and to jump a bit forward and to go back. But honestly, what I didn't realize was the impact and why I'm now putting myself out there, being a public speaker and want to be a presenter and being on media, realizing that you're empowering now, like you've highlighted on, younger generation, people that are struggling, but also winning over hearts and minds, getting people to really understand the why, which is a big topic at the minute with the far right. And I think it's quite important to have people like that. I've got a box here when I came out, and well, I'll put one on camera. I can see it. It's just looking at me. I know exactly what letter it is as well because I use it sometimes in my keynotes. I've got 61 letters, Ben, I got sent, and then message requests. God knows how many. People from all walks of life, mothers, fathers who've got an LGBTQ plus son, a daughter, a person, young people send me letters, 15, 16, 17. It absolutely broke me emotionally. It really did. It was so overwhelming to deal with this. And I just thought to myself, I was, as I said, well, how old was I? 29. No, sorry, I came out, 29. I thought to myself, I need to do my talking off the pitch as much as on it. In the past, I've been a career advisor, so I'm comfortable, and I knew my skill was empowering others. I love to help people. And I just thought, right, I need to do something with this. I need to help people here. How can I get involved in this? And fast forward to 3 years, it seems to be going pretty well. But because now to jump back to, when I was suffering, like just before, like coming out, like 27, 28, 26, I know how dark it can get when you struggle with your sexuality. And that's what I'm trying to as well to relate and try to build more allies when I do my talks. It's just like, I'm talking about one thing about sexuality. This is anyone going through anything in life, it can have a real impact on your physical, emotional and mental health. It's all connected. I'll be honest and tell you, 27-year-old, on the surface, you would see a guy who was a high flyer. I was working for a quasi-governmental organisation. I was a school career counsellor, if you like, career counsellor. Great job. I was playing part-time semi-professional footballer, doing really well, but I was actually really suffering. And how did I combat my sort of internalized homophobia in being gay? I was trying to be macho and go to the gym and refusing it and not accepting it. And my only advice to anyone listening here is that will build and build and build, and that box, whatever's inside that box, i.e. struggling with sexuality, it will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and something's got to give. And yeah, 27-year-old, I burnt myself out. Then I got shingles, didn't think of it, got the rash, and I was like, I'll be fine, crack on. Kept working, kept grafting, rash went away, and yeah, I was absolutely floored for months and months and months.
Wow.
Sorry, the disclaimer, I'm going to talk about, my sort of physical symptoms here about mental health, but yeah, I've never had a panic attack before, and constant panic attacks, constant anxiety. Everyone was so confused, having all the scans, like your height of fitness, you're so healthy, nothing's wrong with you, and I was like, what is going on here? And listen, I'm no wellness guru, but I seeked everything. I was doing everything: meditation, mindfulness, and seeing a counsellor. And that was probably the turning point to get to the bottom of it. And even though at that time, didn't have the confidence to tell them that, but just the work that I was doing, it was kind of just crossing things off. And we kind of got to, wait a minute, there's a big thing that probably saying, oh, it's not that, it can't be that, can't be that. Telling you, it bloody was. God, I'm not saying, our life's perfect now and hunky-dory. God, I still have dark days like anyone, or bad days and down days, but they're nowhere near as bad when I was struggling with my sexuality. And if I can just be visible, if I can share my story, and not just doing keynotes or stuff, but in the corporate world, but actually just being visible. Whereas now I've obviously, I'm thinking about maybe playing till whenever my legs give up or my body gives up, but if I can continue to be visible and then again doing like presenting work, you can't underestimate that. Who's going to watch that and see that? And then if you're getting a lovely message and potentially saving a life, Ben, it means the world, So no doubt, listen, similar to the work you're doing here, people that really struggling, they're going to listen to some of the podcasts and they're going to really take a lot of solace in it, So yeah.
Yeah, that's what we can hope for, right? And I guess, but how do you protect yourself in that, right? Because that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. That's a lot of pressure to kind of take on. Do you have a way to kind of divide that public, not persona, but that public image with kind of you and yourself? And how do you kind of protect yourself from kind of the negativity and just the pressure of being that kind of role model for people?
It was tough at first, to be honest, especially trying to navigate pro football. Again, at 31, I was playing. When I came out, it was technically pro, but not officially. And then this September 2020, I'd signed pro again in January 2023. and it blew up. It went crazy. It went wild. And I wasn't prepared for that. And then my documentary came out. It's still on iPlayer out on the pitch. That came out in March, which got fast tracked. It was supposed to come out off season in the summer, but some reason BBC wanted to fast track it and put it out during the season, which was outrageous. Like every week, it was just like every Saturday, it was like people were messaging my club like, "Oh, can we get before the match? Can we get an interview with Zander? Oh, after the match, can we get an interview with Zander? Oh, we're going to have press here interviewing the game for blah 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 blah." And my manager's just like, "Zander, how are you coping with all this? Like, what?
Yeah.
Bloody it. Every time I go on social media, there was obviously I got a hell of a lot of abuse for it, especially on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, which is an absolute cesspit at the best of times. So, luckily, yeah, listen, I'm a strong cookie, do you know what I mean? Obviously, I kind of gave a bit of negativity about growing up in Glasgow, but certainly we're very strong-willed here, very streetwise, very street smart, and we can handle ourselves. And and I appreciate that because now I'm fine. I can handle it. But the first couple of years was really tough, which made me think now I've had a break of football. I'm like, okay, actually now I've had a break, relaxed a bit. Now can I go back and actually just play football, just be known as a footballer rather than the press just eating it up? It was bloody challenging. But I always wanted to focus on the positives because the press love talking about a gay footballer and just put a negative slant on it. My strip got put in the Scottish Football Museum in Hampden. Hampden's the Scottish football stadium. And yeah, amazing moment. I was so proud and happy and stuff. And I got an interview with, I won't mention the media outlet. They interviewed me at the stadium right next to my strip. And it was such an amazing, emotional interview. It was great. What was the headline, Ben? Instead of, this is Zander Murray's strip, blah, 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 that he scored the 100th goal. No, the headline was, I still get homophobic abuse every single day. I'm like, what chance you got? What actual chance you got? You know what I mean? This is what we're up against. And that's what I've not done a lot of press recently. The last month or so, I've refused a lot because I'm well aware now how they work and what they're wanting from me. And they're never interested in a positive story, by the way, in LGBTQ+. They're always interested in that line that they can catch the clicks and likes from all the far right. So, yeah, sorry, a bit of a rant there.
No, but it's so important, right? Because when you think about the way that especially young people will digest content now, it is a lot of headlines. Think about TikTok. It's almost just headline after headline after headline. And if the headline is, receives endless abuse, is, still has to kind of avoid social media because of the negativity, then they're going to make that association with, okay, so if I'm that, and if I come out, that's the treatment I'm going to get. So spreading such a negative headline, spinning everything to kind of be the negative or focusing on the negative, especially in something like football, which historically has been a challenging space for LGBTQ plus representation, as we've touched on. Homophobia in the stadiums, homophobia at the pub while people are watching the game. But since coming out and moving into the kind of the advocacy role that you're now playing today, have you noticed any shift in how players, in how fans, and in the industry of football is approaching LGBTQ plus inclusion?
It's getting hugely better. Oh my goodness. I've never been by any teammate, by any fan that I've heard personally, face to face, by staff, by anyone, and then now I'm back playing, zero issue. No, that's just one. I'm just one person. I speak to other people regularly, and I feel it's getting hell of a lot better. But the media won't want it. They're not interested in that. They're just interested in the homophobic abuse. Out and Out Football did do a stat recently. It did say that LGBT plus fans were still feeling uncomfortable in stadiums, and there was some pretty worrying stats around that. Like 7 out of 10 would feel like, are they still hear homophobic abuse? So that's, for me, there's an area of opportunity. How can we do more engagement with the wider fan groups? It's amazing doing LGBTQ plus fan groups, activations and interactions. It's amazing and I love that, enjoy that. But now I engage a lot with LGBTQ plus football fan groups, and I say to them, like, how can you speak more with the wider support and engage them more and make them understand? That's where we need to win over. And it's not always about like throwing placards in their faces and going, this is unfair and yous are horrible and blah, blah, blah. No, we need kind of, a lot of the fan group aren't homophobic. They're in the middle. We need to win them over. And I'm telling you that firsthand. Do you know what I mean? I'm from a football daft family. I've got my cousin plays professional. You know, I hear and I listen to obviously the middle ground is I genuinely believe in a football stadium you're going to have a small percentage that are actually just homophobic and they're out to cause harm. Like, but not just homophobic, they're everything. You also have people shouting that they're maybe uneducated and they're not realising the hurt that it causes. And then you've just got a middle ground that wouldn't say it, but maybe some of the work that we do within football, they're a bit like, nah, is that needed? For example, like, and listen, they've listened and they've changed for this year, but obviously last year with the Stonewall Rainbow Laces campaign in the men's elite, it needs a rethink. Women's game, grassroots, no issue, not a problem. Men's elite needs a rethink because we cannot keep having pushback from players on a campaign that's meant to improve LGBTQ plus inclusion within football. And if more players continue to have pushback, well, it's going to trickle down to the fans, which is happening. So, listen, it's getting better, and I'm massively involved in the change in that, which I'm really grateful for Simon, who's the CEO, of course, at Stonewall, for listening, Premier League similarly, for actually taking my advice and guidance on board around that. So yeah, to finish that, I would say yes, it's getting better, absolutely. Look at you only need to look at me and Jake Daniels' life now. Look at her life. It's Josh Cavalo's from afar. Look at the amazing thing. And yes, you're going to get hate, but remember the amount of outpouring of love that you're going to get, particularly in the UK with Football versus Homophobia community. John Holmes and Lou Englefield will literally pull you in, and me, of course. And that's what people need to understand that are struggling. There's a huge pool of people that are going to absolutely adore you. And that's what we need to get more out. Positive stories, Ben, and you're all about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it is all about progress. And to your point, it is that vocal minority that get the headlines, they get the kind of the stories, and they are the vocal minority that are on the things like X/Twitter, making kind of all the negativity. And I guess that must make it really difficult for players today. And I wonder if, and I'm interested to get your opinion on, why do you think we still haven't seen an openly gay Premier League player, if we take Premier League as kind of as kind of the benchmark there? And what needs to change? Is it just someone like you that's that one brave player that, if we make the assumption again, I'm making a certain assumption that there must be gay football players in the Premier League today. Is it just going to take one person who's going to be brave to take that first step and then it will kind of be a snowball effect? Or what needs to change to make that happen for young players and to see those professionals?
I think it just takes that one person. We're getting there. We're climbing. We're getting there. Close and close and close and close and close. It's definitely building, and it's just going to take that one person. Listen, I'll be diplomatic in the way I answer this. There must be an openly player in the top flight. There must be, if you look at the stats. As I said to you, I know the worldwide players, 130k, and if roughly there should be around 9,000 players who are part of the community. And I would say, yeah, there must be. Now, how do we get them to come out? They may be out to their teammates, they may be out to the club, but they just don't want to go publicly. Because they can, like you said, all these apps that you've mentioned, that, yeah, they might get a lot of abuse, but they need to understand they're going to get an outpouring of love as well, and they're going to be empowering people, and you're going to be saving people's lives. I don't know how many times I've had that word sent to me, Zander, you've literally saved my life, but doing an input or just being visible, which I think it keeps me going, gives me fire in my belly. But we also need to be aware of where's football going, and Saudi, Middle East, playing football there is obviously very, very extremely lucrative. And maybe some players are thinking, right, maybe I'll come out after I play because I don't want that to hinder me maybe doing a season in Saudi. In the Middle East, that may play a part in people's decisions, because we had Thomas Hitzelsberger. He never felt comfortable coming out during playing in the Premier League, but after it, obviously, he came out, which I got to meet him. He came down to one of our came up to one of our workshops in Scotland, which was amazing. And we actually showed one of his goals we do show one of his goals during the workshops, which that was an amazing moment to just have a little chat with him and have a wee conversation. I was extremely starstruck. So yeah, I think we just need to continue what we're doing and show a positive slant on it and continue to fight back against, as you said, the far right, the press, even listen, some LGBTQ plus media outlets who I engage with a hell of a lot. They've done a hell of a lot for me. But I had to have a few conversations with some of them. I'm like, do you think that's going to hinder a player coming out? You know, I think I've widely shared a lot of the stuff, interviews or like headlines. I'm like, you've took that from mainstream, but do you really think you should be doing that with LGBTQ plus your audience? What if someone's struggling there within sports and they're reading certain things? So again, like everything, it is a holistic approach, and people of influence like myself, like Jake, Thomas Beattie, Josh Cavallo, players, young male players in particular, will be watching us with a microscope that are struggling with their sexuality. They're watching us with a microscope, and hopefully, we can be these positive role models, these pillars, if you like. I was going to say guinea pigs, that's not the right thing to say anymore. Pillars. Hopefully we can be the pillars, and I can sit back 15, 25 years time on my wee veranda somewhere and be like, bloody hell, I made a bit of a difference here,
Definitely. And you touched on something there, which I think is interesting, which is, even in the LGBTQ plus community ourselves, there's a lot of speculation, and people love to speculate on social media about people's sexuality. Do you think the kind of constant speculation, especially when it gets to individuals, actually reinforces the idea that being gay is a big deal and therefore actually might hinder people coming out sooner?
100%. This black canvas, how many years have we seen it? On the years, Premier League football is just about to come out and all, blah, blah, blah. It's an absolute load of nonsense. I know a hell of a lot more than that I'm letting on, and I can't really disclose a lot of that. But yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Why is the need? And it's really blown up. And what's nice, actually, especially when I came out, there was a hell of a lot of men in particular, like, right, let him crack on with his life. Who cares? Why is this blowing up and stuff? Which I kind of understand, but to a degree, that's maybe just a straight guy that's not necessarily homophobic. But I've kind of understood the significance now of just how many people it's helped, try to change that conversation. But back to the original point, in May we had, and I had a Hobbit Day because it's such a long, there's an acronym because it's a long title, isn't it? No, do you know what? Since we're on the pod, let me try. International Day Against Biphobia and Homophobia?
Yeah.
Other way about. Yeah. Homophobia and biphobia. So there was apparently meant to be in Germany a group of players that were meant to come out together on that day. It was orchestrated by said company, and we had in the UK we've got a really strong community around the LGBTQ plus people within football. We're very together. Football versus homophobia are really good at pulling us all together. And we had our suspicions, and it was getting so much mainstream media from blank canvases. Your Lad Bible of likes were having an absolute field day. The Sun, the Record, all these ones were loving it. All these players apparently in the Bundesliga and across Europe were going to come out. And we had conversations with the people that were orchestrating this in the build up to this. And I was like, right, get me into these apparent WhatsApp group, let me speak to the players and stuff. And they were very guarded. And we were just like, bloody hell. So listen, I'm not saying it's lies. It might be. And what's happened yet again is it's went to the mainstream media. They've seen all the abuse it's getting and they've been like, no chance. So yeah, I think it's such a horrible thing. And hopefully it's not happened as much anymore. And again, hopefully not just me, but those at Football versus Homophobia have been influential in try to change that. Because we hope then that, 10, 15 years time, someone comes out in a dressing room and it doesn't even make mainstream news. It's just normal. Someone's like, what are you doing at the weekend? That question from me, Ben, I've never been able to answer. What are you doing at the weekend? I had to make up a lie, lead that double life. And that can create so many problems. And for someone 10, 15 years time to go, just chill with my boyfriend, cool, done. That would mean the world to me. It really, really would in the men's game. And we can only look up to the women's football as a benchmark. I know it's a wee bit different culturally, but certainly a benchmark that hopefully we can get to.
Yeah. I agree. Let's touch on some of the incredible work you're now doing as kind of a semi-retired, I guess, football player. Now you're kind of dipping your toe back in. You've stepped into a new role as kind of an inclusion advocate and educator. Can you tell me about the work you're doing today? Because I imagine that can be a tough transition going from, professional football player to advocate to speaker to educator. And was there a moment you kind of felt like, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do now?
Yeah, I was always worried playing football. I'm like, what's going to give me that fire and that belly? I always questioned it, especially near the tail end of my career. I was always like, what's going to give me that fire to get me up in the morning? And, literally just sending that text, sitting on that balcony in Benidorm, of all places, and then coming home, and then I just was like, I found it. Wow, this is it. This is my thing, and I need to put myself out there. And it's been an absolute honour. Honestly, some of the work I've done, I've travelled all over the world: Hong Kong, Berlin, Spain, up and down the country in UK, Dublin. It's been incredible, not just to do keynotes and share my story, but to be involved in. Obviously, I've got my own documentary out on the pitch, which they've still kept up. It was only meant to be on for a year. It came out, I think it came out March 2023. They were going to say, yeah, it's going to be an iPlay for a year, but yeah, they decided to just keep it on, which is incredible. And then I've been involved with Rylan, Homophobia Football and Me on TNT Sports. TNT Sports did the documentary Rylan, and they were like, right, who's okay? Obviously, it was a landscape around mainly English football. And they're like, right, okay, where's the good work? Who's doing the good work? And they had to come all the way up to Scotland to see us, to watch our challenging homophobia workshops within football, to a football club. So that was amazing to be a part of that. And then in recent times, I was in an Amazon Prime documentary. I hate picking myself up, by the way. I'm pure cringing when I'm talking, by the way. I hate this chat. I hate it. I can't. Pure cringing, by the way. My face is crimson here. Just checking myself, like, what am I doing here? I hate it, but I suppose it's relevant. So, yeah, very recently, a couple of months ago, I was in an Amazon Prime documentary with Dare to Defy. It's called Dare to Defy, and it's all around inclusion. There was a couple of episodes. Episode 2 is around inclusion in football. Adele Roberts was sort of the presenter, so it was incredible to work with her. It was around Man City and Nissan sponsored it, so it was around Manchester Pride time. So we were filming around Manchester Pride. Inside Manchester Pride was amazing. We went to Man City. Really, so if anyone's got Prime, then please, highly encourage you to watch the full series around inclusion. It was really, that was an absolute privilege to be a part of. And then, I mean, yeah, I was ambassador at the Gay Games 2023 in Hong Kong, first of its kind in Asia, which was massive. It was an absolute honour. I did a keynote in the EY Tower in Hong Kong. Yeah, that was it. So I went to Hong Kong twice in the build up to it, and then went for the Gay Games, which memories will live with me forever. And then the Euros, I did two Euro 2024 the football. I did two inputs. Did one in Berlin for the Pride House. I did a talk at the Pride House Berlin, which was an absolute honour. Did anyone understand me? I don't know, but I did try to speak slow. Well, I've got a regional accent, Ben. And then getting like presenter gigs. So like, I went to Munich for the first Scotland and Germany game, and I was doing like vox popping with all this. I'm getting goosebumps with like all the Tartan Army. And are you a football fan, by the way?
I'm actually not a massive football fan, but my
Okay,
nephews
so
are. My brother is. So I have to. I was going to lie, but there's no point lying. I'm not the biggest football fan.
Okay, I won't go into too many analogies and stuff with football, but like interviewing like Scottish fans being over there, and that was the first time we were at a tournament for like 20 years. It was quite emotional. Like some of the people you're interviewing, especially the guys, but like some of them like obviously recognised me, and it was just nice wee moments. God, I'm getting a bit emotional here. It was just nice wee moments. Just like, oh son, you should be so proud of yourself. Like, well done for coming out and stuff, like off camera and that. And I was just like, something really
makes it all worthwhile.
Bloody, it's so empowering. And yeah, and obviously Pride Month coming up is going to be a busy time as always. I'm not going to do as many keynotes, Ben, to be honest, because they bloody take it out of me. Like, I get really emotional during them, and I relay some of my journal time back in my dark periods as well. But I just think me going in there, if I can share my story, give tangible takeaways to help not just people that are struggling, but to be a role models. Like there's many managers that have helped me through the years. you know, and if I can imprint in some people, you know, that means the world to me. That, you know, they'll not forget it. And you know, 3 years in, it's obviously going pretty well, and now hosting events, which is new territory. I didn't think I'd be able to do that. This year, I done my first keynote to over 1,000 people. As we say in Glasgow, a wee bit of a bag of jaggies at the beginning. People are like, "Oh, the more that the bigger the audience, the easier, Zander. It's easier." No, I had a wee bit. First 10 seconds, I looked at, I'm like, okay, look back down again. Bloody hell! But it's amazing, you know. It's really nice, and word of mouth. Yeah, social media is important for that, but it's nice just you maybe having like word of mouth for that and continuing that going. It really means a lot to me, this sort of work, because I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's amazing. And obviously, you know, it sounds like it's just the start and that you're just getting cooking and it's going to continue to build. We've talked a lot about kind of young LGBTQ plus people, especially young LGBTQ plus football players that might be kind of starting the game now. What's one piece of advice that you wish you'd had before coming out and before starting your career that might help a young footballer who feels like they may never be able to bring their authentic self to the sport?
Great question. The one thing that I would say would be ignore that mind. That internalized homophobia is brewed for a reason, like I've touched on in the past, like your upbringing, your steading, people in your negative voices that you maybe heard. That's that mind. That's actually not reality. And this is, I think, listen, I went up, so I played pro like 16 to 19, and then I had a break for like 4 years because I was obviously struggling with many things. And at 31 again, I went up and played pro. The reason why I never, because I was gay. And I'll tell you, so this is a weird way of answering this, but it's going to answer it. I remember being 28, 3 times I got asked to play higher when I was playing semi-professional. The last time really hurt me, nearly actually broke my heart, because I wanted to make it so much. This is what happens when you get offered an amazing opportunity to play higher and you're struggling with your sexuality. So played this friendly match with a team, I think they were tier 2 of the Scottish, they were in the Scottish Championship. We played a friendly match. I was playing for a team in tier 5 at the time. I played really, really well. Their manager came up to me at the end and they said, look, we're going to put you on, this was a Saturday, like Monday you're coming in with us full time. You're coming with us on a 2-week trial, but basically, mate, we're going to sign you because we need you, right? I went home that night. So what a person that wouldn't be struggling with sexuality would go and tell their family, their friends, they'd be screaming, they'd be buzzing, they'd get it for lunches, dinner, like, oh my God. So I went home, and what did I think about? I thought about, wow, this is a big club. What if I sign for them and they go through my Facebook, they find my Facebook and they find a photo that's a bit camp? What if they then put that in a football forum and start saying rumours that I'm gay? What if I start going to their matches and they start calling me a poo for a gay boy? And at that time I despise myself. And if I got that level of abuse, I do not know if I'd be here, Ben.
Yeah.
That's the sort of things that I was relaying in my brain, you know? And I'm so proud of myself that I finally got to a point that I thought, do you know what? I'm just doing this. Who cares, Xander? I'm sick of suffering. I want any kid growing up to just not go through that, because that is not reality. That is not what happened to me. I got my teammates, everyone opened their arms to me and with so much love and support. Listen, I know some family backgrounds, it's a bit more challenging, but with that as well, and I've seen that many times from doing keynotes and just speaking to people, if your family don't accept you, I guarantee you will find your family. And it might not be blood, but I guarantee you, being authentic self, you will find the people that's meant to be around your life. I literally thought in my whole life that I had no friends, Ben. I literally thought growing up that, why can I not get any friends? Why has everyone got great friends and I've never been able to get good friends? All the way up to, like, listen, I've rekindled a lot of, when you come through not a good time, that's what you're putting out to the world, isn't it? So you're not going to get what you should be getting. But honestly, since coming out at 29, I can't fit my friends in a week. I've got that many. So it's crazy how life just changes, you know, and that's just from your upbringing. So yeah, long story short, to answer your question, to summarise it, ignore that internalized homophobia. Look out there, the people that are like you, and look what they're doing. Listen to their stories. you know, and look how amazing their life's been since coming out. Not one of us has regretted it, remember that. And I just want no kid to ever not take that opportunity just because of who they are.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And actually, something you said there, which I think is so important for people to hear, is the reaction of your teammates, right? Because that's actually the people that will come around you in that moment. Yes, you take your family's reaction out of it, your teammates and that team mentality you get from a sport, knowing that your teammates have your back on the field. I can only imagine the impact that has and the strength really it must give you to kind of like say, no, this is me and these are my guys and we're good. So I think that's so important for people to hear.
I remember the first time coming back from Benidorm that I was going on to the changing room, and this was post Lorraine Kelly. And I know you're going to jump on this and look at it. So I thought it was going to be a bit awkward. People were going to be walking around eggshells. I walked in and they burst out laughing, right? And I'm like, what are they laughing about? And they were showing me the video of Lorraine. They're like, a Glaswegian should never be saying Lorraine the first word for the interview because I was so nervous, Ben. I've never seen so many cameras in my
I can
life.
only imagine.
My first ever live TV shoot, Lorraine's an absolute gem, right?
Yeah.
National treasure. She tried to keep me so calm. But I swear to you, I was so nervous. And you know what it's like with our accent? We roll our R's, right? We roll our R's. Lorraine, right? Is it's a name that can roll your R's. And I could not get her name out, honestly. And that's the first word I tried to say. And all they were doing was just taking the mickey, and that was so nice, just like broke ice, and it was so calm. Watch it, by the way. It's absolutely, I can't even watch it. I cringe so much. But I was like Lorraine, and they were just taking the mickey out, and no beginning my first word out. So that was nice.
Yeah, nothing changed. The banter was still there.
Changed. And that's important. That's what people need to understand. You know what I mean? Like, I love my banter. Like, people say they play football to score goals and put on the pitch, blah, blah. Great. But I tell you what, you get your best moments in that changing room. Do you know what I mean? Like, off the cuff chats. It's, especially in a good environment, you can get toxic changing rooms, God. But if you get the good mix of people, oh, bloody hell. And you know what I found going back to play now? See boys opening up and talking about mental health. It's amazing. It's so changed for years ago. Honestly, there's a lot of boys just like, one of them's got like a sort of mental health group that he runs, and he's probably, you look at him, he's like the hardest man of the team. But he runs like mental health groups, and I'm like, things are changing for good, you know, they really, really are. And yeah, I'm glad to sort of been a part of the changes, particularly in my area. Yeah, I'm definitely, and just to normalise it, people think we as LGBTQ plus people like can't have a laugh and have a joke, and we're these horrible alien-like people. And actually, I honestly, I've lost count how many boys been like, how are you gay? I'm like, what do you mean by that? What's your explanation of that? Why? Like, you're just like one of us, you're just normal. And I'm like,
there you go.
I'm like, mate, go on and just unfollow Andrew Tate. Go on and you just stop following Andrew Tate, and all the boys bust it laughing. I'm like, we are normal, mate. Stop being bloody influenced by these horrible, toxic, far-right influencers telling you to fast 100%. For 20 hours. Fasting's quite good to be fair. But they bring you in by like, oh, fast, and look at me, kickbox, and then they feed you with all the bloody nonsense, you know? Anyway.
Yeah, it's a really, really important message. We will end things with our rapid fire questions. Oh! Starting with, you get to relive any moment from your professional career. What is it and why?
I would say last game of the season, keeping us up into the leagues was pretty special. Last minute winner years ago. I scored a last minute winner to win us the league. That was quite special. That was quite that last minute winner. Scoring a last minute winner. Do you know what that means, yeah?
Yes, I do. I'm not that
90th minute.
I'm not that disengaged.
So, you know, 90th minute, and yeah, I might have got my top off and swung it about. It was a bit embarrassing.
You gotta celebrate those moments.
I got a yellow card for it, yes, but that was quite special.
That's amazing. In the queer community, we love a good icon, especially a powerhouse woman. Think your Gagas, your Whitneys, your Kylies. Who would be your ultimate go-to queen if you had one?
I like an underdog. Halsey. Or BB Rexa.
Yes.
Hopefully they've not been. They're allies, aren't they? Yeah, they must be.
Yeah.
I like an, I like an underdog. So
Yeah.
how's your BB Rexa?
I love that. Great choices. What is your favorite queer TV show, movie, musical, or book?
Queer as Folk was the most iconic thing for me. Massive growing up. I watched it in secret, like you were talking about. Like watched it in secret, and I was
Volume right down.
I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is so needed. That show has saved so many people's lives, by the way, as it did mine. That was massive growing up for me. Absolutely massive. I might watch it again.
If you had to lip sync for your life, what song would you choose?
Well, the most iconic, and I still gag at it, the most iconic lip sync battle I've ever seen in my entire existence is Laganja Estranja's Assassin.
Yeah.
What? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, lip sync assassin. Yeah.
I was going to say Dua Peep. Dua Lipa Physical. Laganja Estranja. Oh, who's Laganja Estranja against in that one again?
I'm going to forget. But
like Laganja Estranja's performance is
amazing,
outrageous. She's a lip sync assassin in it. Dua Lipa Physical. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I'm going to watch after this. So good.
Yeah. Everyone go and watch after this. If you could have one drink with any queer person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Justin Fashanu. Immediately when I said that as well, I had to do for my documentary, I had to do a little bit of voiceover and pay homage to him a little bit. And it took me 45 minutes to an hour because I was getting so choked up. One, because there was a couple of things going through my head. I was so emotional. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm in this position to give back. But also, he paved the way for us all, really. You know what I mean? We wouldn't be here without. And knowing, the story and what happened, if this was in this day and age, would that have happened? And there's just so many things that would throw my brain. I'd love to just have a sit down chat with him. And but listen, look what he's paved for us all. So Justin Fashanu.
Yeah, amazing choice to have a conversation with him and to understand kind of the experience he had then. As you say, we would hope the experience would be different today. But yeah, just an amazing human who, if you haven't heard of, pause this now and go and look him up and read his story, understand his story, because it's incredibly, incredibly important. Final question. Who in your network would you like to hear on this podcast? And what one question would you want me to ask?
Great question. Recently, I heard Arlene speak at a conference and I was blown away, not only by, the content and what she was sharing, it was so informative, but, how engaging she was, and she's absolutely hilarious. Arlene McDermott, Director of Trans in the City. What an amazing and powerful speaker and person. It'd be amazing for you to get on this pod. Secondly, you can use it as well. Todd Sears from Out Leadership. If you can get a hold of him, he's a busy man. He's non-stop. Equally, what a powerful human being, and what he's doing at the minute as well, particularly the trans and non-binary community worldwide. Really, really powerful person, and really good speaker as well. And what question would I would just bloody ask how he's doing, because there's a lot. He's going through a hell of a lot, particularly obviously with the current landscape, especially in America with Donald Trump, and it's challenging him on having out leadership. They'd be the two.
I love that. We will definitely reach out to them and try and get them both on the podcast. Zander, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, but thank you so much for your bravery. You opened this podcast talking about the bravery of other people and the incredible people that obviously paved the way for you to feel that you could do it. But you are now doing that for people, and you are setting the example that people can live authentically. They can have successful careers. So I thank you. I'm sure everyone on the podcast thanks you for all your amazing work and for blazing a trail for others ahead.
Thank you. Cheers, Ben. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time.